Hello everyone, we are back and here to react to RWBY Vol.9 Chapter 4 now. Last episode was a very entertaining battle we had with the Red Prince and Yang, Weiss, Blake are all very small now. They're very little with little.
No, everyone else is just massive. The entire world grew, they did.
Yes, yes, it's easier to make the rest of the world grow instead of, in the animation we shrink or we just make everything grow. We make everything move around the model instead of, moving the model in the world.
It's so much easier.
And we met the Curious Cat. We met, we lost the Penny Sword, which I'm curious if that's ever going to come back now. That kind of just got kicked off to the side. But
oh, it's going to be a plot point later.
Maybe. But we met the Curious Cat, and then we finally see Neo crash land and evolve her semblance, and now she has facing the Jabberwocker, and don't know what happened to it, but we'll find out what she did to it at some point. But they have their semblances. They have their, I'm guessing, aura too as well. So they have, their power, their magic, like their remnant of magic with them. But they do not.
They go through this world and they learn the true origins of magic, and therefore don't need dust after they leave.
There's a oh man, that would be crazy. They learn new magic.
They learn the old ways.
What if they gain powers to fight the gods? Like this is older than the gods' magic. Like the gods were able to steal magic from here, and they have learned the power. They basically ascend to godhood to where they can battle the gods. Be like, when the gods return, they're just like, they become the most powerful. They become like maidens, but above that maybe. I don't. I'm just speaking incredibly.
It would be weird, but it'd be interesting.
They'd be unstoppable, yes, but that doesn't mean they could win.
Salem still is just like, cool, you can kill me even more.
Salem be like, yes, end it. Which, yeah, I think Salem's plan is ascending so that the gods can destroy everything and kill her, or ascending, at least gathering the relics so she can control the world or something. I think it's more interesting that she's just doing this just to kill herself, despite everything. Like she doesn't care anymore. She's gone to the point where she's like, the only way to die is to completely
destroy the world.
Just basically both Ozpin, like in the weird way, for Ozpin to also be relieved of his curse is to let Salem win. But he doesn't want to. He's a good boy. He doesn't want to just destroy the entire world.
The world to stay.
Mm-hmm. So the gods they're just difficult people that we're gonna have to deal with at some point, but we don't know how. And maybe we'll learn something about them from this world. This world is a weird world that we still have no idea how this world exists. Where are we? That's the weirdest thing. Why are we? When are we? What are we? We're learning what we are, but we do not know. I
still feel like it's something connected to what the gods said, where they would try on a different world, and that this is something connected to them, their tests, them creating tests in like a small area.
Yeah.
And when they created the creation relic, they connected it to this world in a way of this is where they create stuff, so that it pulls energy from there to create things in Remnant.
Could be.
And thus, when you fall into
this world.
Sucked over into there.
We'll see. All right.
Maybe they'll learn to create a doorway back home.
The tree is the way out. What is the tree? Maybe you think the tree is a character?
It could be. Like the Deku tree?
Maybe. Okay, so are you ready?
E.
Let's begin.
Here, kitty. Come on, kitty. Cat's strange quarters. Excuse me. You're excused. Curious Cat? Which one do you go by?
Oh, I don't go by. That belongs to the days and the years.
Is it?
But if you are asking me what I am, I do suppose I am indeed a cat. Most curious.
Okay.
Of course.
It breaks apart and reforms like Ruby.
Look, my friends and I really need to get to that giant tree, and
Look how tiny they
nothing
are.
inside has gotten us any further. It looks to me like we're even farther.
Yeah, I think that's because we're 6 inches tall.
It could be both. The tree. Tree. Of course. That is most definitely impossible. You do not go to the tree goes to you, unless of course you're me. You see.
Not even a little bit.
Well, that's your problem. It's a matter of perspective, I'm afraid.
But couldn't you take us then? You've been there before.
So why would I ever want to go back? Yes, I'm glad we understand one another. No sense in seeing a sight seen.
Please. You helped Alex when she was...
Alex? How do you know her? Are you friends of hers? Lifelong nemesis? Wait, don't tell me. Okay, no, tell me.
Well, we don't know her personally. Just, she wrote a book about her entire adventure in the ever after.
A book? Is it well liked?
It's kind of a childhood favorite of everyone's
Aw.
where we're from.
Yes. Oh, please, I simply must know more. What did she write about? How was I portrayed? And do I smell a mouse?
From one cat to another. Give us a minute, please.
Wow, Blake.
Oh, so they're spoken for. Well, please hurry. I have so many questions.
Are we sure they're not called the constantly annoying cat?
Got him. Totally roasted.
Thank you.
Guys, the curious cat was described as an ally with an appetite for information. Just because they don't want to go back to the tree doesn't mean we can't lure them there.
Okay. Yeah, we just need to keep their attention along the way. That shouldn't be too hard. We know all sorts of...
The cat's gone.
No. Oh, wait up! Do
Butterfly
you have
effect.
questions for us? We'd be happy to answer them.
I sense a butt approaching.
Yeah, yours.
No, I mean, we do still need to go to the tree, but that'll take ages, right? Plenty of time to tell you all the stuff from our world. Look, ever seen a scroll before? Ooh.
Luminous rectangle. Ooh. What does this button do? It's painting tiny flat versions of me. Is that what I look like smiling?
Aw.
Line
More
and
questions?
sinker.
Oh, exciting. So, the old man and the boy share a body now? Ooh, that's got some uncomfortable implications. Who thought that was a helpful way to reincarnate? The same people who put a city in the sky. Oh, speaking of Atlas, did that CL girl from the Vital Festival ever come back in a notable way? There's just so many characters to
CL.
keep track of.
Oh my god!
Show.
You have asked about the origins of Remnant.
That's right. Woo, those two brothers. Talk about a god complex, am I right? All in all, a rather entertaining summary. Though I felt some of the character voices were a bit uninspired. Looking at you, wise huntress.
Again, it's wise. Just wise.
Apologies. To your credit, you lot certainly know more about the beginnings of remnants than Alex did. That girl could barely see past her own nose.
Oh, what do you mean?
Oh, you know. Just hilariously concerned with trivial things.
Yeah, but she learned her lesson in the end, right?
I'd certainly say so. Oh, would you look at that? The edge of the garden's acre.
I feel like Alice's story didn't end how she wrote it in the book.
Oh. She maybe rewrote it?
Yeah.
Aw.
This entire world is put together like a bunch of mixed up puzzle pieces. How does anyone make sense of this?
Each acre is made specifically for its inhabitants and their roles. Is it not like that on Remnant?
No?
How strange. It never even occurred to me to ask that before.
I have a question I'd like to ask. How much longer before we're back to regular size?
Not long at all. The garden is just down this path and is sure to have all the ingredients we need for a lovely Groger parfait.
Okay.
Just don't
I thought they were
go
going to change the second they crossed over.
If you're not careful.
We might get our heads cut off.
That is how we met, isn't it?
Ah, I like how the bridge is.
Remnant folk are such troublemakers.
Who what other folk do you
Well,
run into?
I'm sure we'll cause a lot less trouble once we're back to normal.
Ah, I don't see what all the fuss is about. Some of my best friends are 6 inches tall. If I were you, I'd be more worried about... Who was that scary sorceress you mentioned? Salem. How many more relics does she need to end the world again? How are you even supposed to stop her now that Atlas is gone?
Those are the questions.
Hey, Roops, maybe we shouldn't worry about home right now. We've got enough problems to...
The cats! What?
Ah! Every time we look away.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Where did they go now? Oh, they saw a bug.
And you didn't say anything?
It was a very interesting...
Plus, it's a cat. Come on, she doesn't... I mean, she's paying attention,
All the
surprisingly.
characters from the book. Why did it have to be the cat? Why couldn't we have gotten help from the lively carpenter or the rusted knight? One was sweet, one was handsome, and neither of them had the attention span of a goldfish.
You know, I bet you could find a goldfish in one of these ponds.
Hey, do you hear that?
Do we follow that? This is...
Is this the garden?
Follow the
It
path.
certainly looks like a garden.
Step off and you'll never
But
find it again.
where's that humming coming from?
This is beautiful. The designs, again.
What are you?
I am getting really tired of that question.
What question?
What are you?
Oh, that question. Isn't it obvious? I am an herbalist. The herbalist. At least. Until I'm not anymore.
Oh, good. Well, all questions answered then.
Sorry to bother, but, my friends and I could use some help. See, we're trying to get to that giant tree, but...
Help getting to the tree.
Voice.
Yes.
Does sound familiar.
Everyone needs help these days. Everyone.
It's like a question mark. Ooh.
This really does feel the world of, like the world of
Well,
questions.
Are you coming in, or aren't you?
This is, I think...
You can make us a Grobert parfait, right?
This is like Absam, I think. The caterpillar questions or something.
I must say, you all seem a bit, hesitant. What did you say you were again?
We're
Humans?
huntresses.
And what exactly does a huntress do?
Fight monsters, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't understand why this matters.
I don't understand how you don't understand. I am an herbalist. I make medicines and remedies to help others on their journeys. It is what I am.
What are you?
So, do you know what a huntress is, or do you guess?
Huntresses are heroes. We protect those who can't protect themselves.
Thank you. Now, would you say that you're good huntresses?
Look, can you help us or not?
I am trying. But you are making this far more complicated than it needs to be. We all have our titles, our roles to play. But in order to help you become whatever it is you need to become, you should really have a better understanding of what you are now.
Okay. How do we open mushroom door?
This is how a king winds up a prince. Follow me. My work is never done.
Hmm. Huh.
Please, take a seat.
Actually, I think maybe we should be going. Right, Ruby?
This won't take long. Just answer the questions. What are you?
Ooh.
Are you sure you know?
They're gonna face themselves.
What you are and of what you're going to be.
Blake! Ruby!
You cannot change who you are if you do not accept who you are.
What?
Old Yang.
You don't have to go forward, you know. You could go back. Back to before. What? What are you talking about? It's simple, really. You could just be human. Or just a cat, if you wanted. Really, it's up to you. Why would I do that? Like I said, it's simple.
It's up to you.
Much simpler than trying to be a bridge between humans and faunus. Why struggle with that responsibility?
The Shni name. Why bother anymore? What does it even stand for now? Instead, you could be a nobody. Could you imagine? Not a single bit of baggage upon your shoulders. Isn't that what you want? To be free?
Get
To
them
be
to
something
run.
simpler? To be whole again? No. My losses, my failures, those more than anything are what have shaped me into who I am. Showed me how I need to grow. If there's something I'm missing, it's not because I've lost it. It's because I haven't found it yet. And the only way to do that is to keep going. A simple life wouldn't be my life. My family, my friends, my culture. I belong to them just as much as they belong to me.
Sword breaks
To
from
give that
the
all
broken
away
part of your sword is
wouldn't
right
be
there.
simplicity. It would be betrayal.
I don't know who you think you are, but let me tell you who I am. I am the granddaughter of a hero and the child of a villain. I am a citizen of a fallen kingdom and an heir to nothing. I will not be defined by my name because I will be the one to define it. I am Shni, and I am a huntress.
I am a huntress. I am a huntress.
Ruby.
So, are you a huntress? Like the ones you read about in books?
Ooh. That's who she used to be. Wow.
They always saved the day, didn't they? Always knew what to do.
Darn.
Always won in the end. But life isn't like a fairy tale. That's right. It's up to you to make things better, isn't it? Everything all depends on you. Your sister needs you. Your friends need you. The whole world needs you to keep fighting forever and ever against an invincible monster that took your mother. Mom was the best, but even she failed. And that doesn't seem fair. None of this seems fair. What am I supposed to do? You can do whatever you want. Be whoever you want. You don't even have to be Ruby Rose. So, what are you gonna be?
Get away from her!
Oh my, that's a bit much.
Oh, Herb, look at yourself. You're done. You're supposed to be helping others find their way. but you've lost your own. Please let me help. And take a little bit of my heart. You'll feel much better.
A little bit of my
I do
heart.
apologize. I always was a bit of a workaholic. Huntresses, was it? Peculiar things.
Oh, I found the cat.
Oh, that's how we're gonna end it. Did little get little versus little?
I want to see that as like a RWBY chibi. Cheese! Yes! No cats!
Christopher.
Yes!
1 second.
Little knows who Little is. Little is Little.
Christopher Guerrero. I do not.
Christopher Guerrero. I feel like I recognize that name.
Okay, so that was a really good, insightful episode into our characters and how they've grown, in a way.
I also like that the show just straight up went, yeah, the plot had some problems. When did this character ever pop back up?
Yeah, it's like, well, it was one of those things where it's like, I like how it was like that CL character. It's like that character that is honestly pointless. Like, what is the purpose? They're like, okay, there was a side character added, and it's just like, and then, yeah, it was just like, but I like that they did point that out. That was funny. Especially the cat. Again, the cat is, I'm loving how this cat is. This cat is a very caring cat. Surprisingly, even though
cat is like one of the gods, dude.
No. Nah.
The gods and their first cat. The first cat.
No, it could be a cat of the gods. But yeah, okay, so at the very end, though, we got the cat has the ability to change the hearts of people. Or at least give them a heart. It did it earlier with the prince, too, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Has the ability to affect people. Or at least the people here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it could affect people, like our characters. We didn't see Jean or Neo this episode, which this one was very focused on Team RWBY, which I liked, and it was interesting again to kind of more or less have the characters, or at least their alter past egos, kind of, I have to like rewatch that again to kind of get a better study of it.
I'd say it's a mix of...
Because they weren't like trying to say go back to what they were. It was more of like trying to...
for each one?
Yeah, it was. Like, Yang was more or less like trying to go back to, back to being, who you were. Like, if this was the best you. This is the best Yang. In a way, and it's like, no, the best,
most positive, most energetic,
mm-hmm.
None of the stuff that brought you down.
Yeah, and now Yang is like, no, this is who I am now, and the best me has not there yet. If I am not at my best, Blake was about
the split between the two sides that she's connected to, in a way.
The side of like society and the side of who you are.
Could hide.
Mm-hmm.
She could live openly as a faunus
and suffer the consequences of that.
On both of those, it doesn't involve bringing the two groups together.
Yeah.
Which is the harder thing to do.
Yeah. Which
I think Weiss's is the clearest to me. Just because it's Weiss as she was, like, she had the family pressure all that time, and now for the first time it's the chance to get away from that. Like, the family name is gone, the dust company's gone.
There's
Atlas
almost
nothing is tying her down to stay as a Schnee, to worry about the name.
She could
have any prestige or significance with the name.
Yeah.
But instead of, originally she was just trying to, like, I guess, prove herself and change things in her own way. Now it's taking it and building up from just her.
Mm-hmm. Now she's going to become the new Schnee. Like, she will be the Schnee for generations.
It's not about just changing the family name or the purpose of that. It's about being the person who can change the family name and set things right.
It's like if she is to ever have, family after her, they will look back to her in a way. Not to sound like egotistical or something, but it's just like one of those things like to be proud of, to start something. Even from the ground up, basically. She's actually having to, in a way, start from almost the ground up now. Because she is arguably, not apart from Winter and Whitley and her mom, but there is no company, there is no Atlas, the world is in chaos right now. Mm-hmm. So there is no need to take up the mantle, but she will, or she is planning to become a Schnee.
So, during that whole section... which I really like that. I mean, just because I listen to way too many psychology, philosophy, and motivational videos. It's like this just straight up is gonna turn into one of those motivational short videos that someone puts together with epic music.
Yeah.
But I love the part where they all had their weapons out, but I love that Blake's whole situation was two sides and having to bring together, and her blade is cut and reformed.
Oh, that's what you were meaning when you said
that. I just love that you can see that clear as day, against the background and such. It's just I'm not sure it was intentional because they were all doing their weapons, but I did like that visually. I did think that was pretty cool.
Now, it was pretty clear that in a weird way, the alter egos of... actually in a weird way, the alter egos of Blake, Yang, and Weiss were, not to say the negatives, but they were they were, in a weird way, I guess you could say the antithesis isn't the right word, is it?
I don't believe so. They effectively were, each of them was the person's shadow, if we're going to go with a kind of simple version of it.
That's not the thing. They were just basically not they were the opposite of what they were both the opposite, but at the thing that they wanted to be something, or this was that they could be. Basically, if they wanted to give up, no longer push for something. Mm-hmm. RWBY's was very different, as where I feel RWBY's was encouraging, but not in the give up encouraging. You could stop, you could do this. It was more of hey, what are we? It's I became you, and you used to be me. What are we now? It's one of the it didn't feel like it was saying I'm actually, become me again.
That's a interesting point. It's almost it's all their younger versions of themselves seeing their current versions of themselves with everything that they went through, and kind of asking them a question or something based on that.
It was
earlier Blake, who was running and hiding or doing all this other stuff, always running, kind of with that.
It was
why try and do this? Why stand up for this? Why put yourself out there like that?
It was basically It was basically if you could talk to your younger self, what would your younger self say to you? Not what you would say to your younger self. What would your younger self say to you?
What I do also think is interesting is for RWBY's, it was not just what her younger self... Well, it was what her younger self would say to her, but it's the fact that her younger self and that optimism and that I'm ready to face it that she's always had throughout the show that has kind of gotten them into the situation of always being I have the right idea. I have the right idea.
It's that...
she's kind of recognized that
she's seen
a lot of her ideas, to a degree, have kind of led to this.
The consequences of her actions. It's she's...
And that encouraging optimism isn't what she wants to hear right now. Because she doesn't know if it'll work out.
It's again, it's if a younger version of you saw a depressed future version of you, and you're what happened? we could tackle anything. We do that, and the older version is you wouldn't understand. I honestly, again, RWBY is I've always had my favorites, but I've always really liked RWBY's character because not to say again that I feel like again this volume is going to be the volume that really pushes her to become better.
I would say that this is like, what was it?
This
a
is
deconstruction of each character throughout this volume.
but
It's slowly gonna pull them apart
mhm.
and ask them to reform themselves. Because, like I said, what are you is the question
theme.
when they're asking your name. It's not what's your name or are you human, faunus. It's what are you. And
but
3 of our characters have a firm idea of who they are and who they're going to be.
Strangely enough, again, this is like I was even thinking about this like recently because because of this volume and all the questions of like what are you, it reminded me back to volume 2 with Ublik asking
why do you want to be
why do you want to be a huntress?
My mind too.
And it was like Yang was like I'm a thrill seeker, Blake was like trying to find a solution or at least make her way in the world to where she could help faunus and humans, and Weiss has a legacy that she felt was her duty to become, both a powerful huntress, but it was more like, become something, like don't just like follow, like be your own self, like her own identity. Being a huntress was her own identity besides being a Schnee. And now it was like finding identity, Yang having fun, Blake finding a solution or building a solution. And in the end,
wasn't Blake's like answer like there are too many injustices in this world or something like that?
But she didn't have any answers for those.
Ruby's answer was let's kill it.
Yeah. But that was the thing, for the question of why, Ruby's question was why do you want to be a huntress? And they came to in that episode or the next episode, they came to the discussion of, being a huntress, it's not about you. It's not about what you want to be. It's about what you can do for the others. Ruby didn't need to be asked that question because that's what she wanted to be day one. That's the whole point, being a hero, working for other people. Like that, like she, in a weird way, Ruby has never been entirely selfish.
She loves doing stuff. They're saying she enjoys, but every time something pops up, it's always help that person.
Yeah.
Do the thing for the other people. And it kind of reminds me of something that was talked about with another character in a different thing. Of total altruism is a great ideal, but it's very bad for your health.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah. Which,
to a degree, like, because if you're always doing stuff for other people, you don't take the time to understand what you need, and you let yourself deteriorate.
Ruby, but again, in a weird way, that like this is what I liked. I will say, again, as you were describing, it's very bad. It will backfire, but it's still in a weird way inspiring because it is, it's like, superhero, like, all the other kind of heroes that, face against impossible odds, but will still stand up against them. Like those are what I would call the inspirational heroes. I've always had this like bar of relatable hero and inspirational hero. I feel like Blake, Weiss, and Yang have always been on the relatable hero side, whereas Ruby has always been on the inspirational one. Ruby is like the classic hero of fairy tales, the classic, perfection, like the paragon, the paragon of everything. And whereas Weiss, Blake and Yang have very relatable issues that they have dealt with, overcome, and been faced. Not that Ruby hasn't had relatable traits, but Ruby has dealt with them in a very different way than most of us would relate to.
It was always like that positive attitude, like, let's do this, let's go. Trying to remember, after the whole thing with learning what had happened, I'm trying to remember how Ruby was after learning everything of Ozpin's past. Because she was still like the most positive out of all of them.
Ruby was encouraging, but Ruby was encouraging. She didn't really, like, again, everybody else always, they were reactive. Ruby, and again, this is why I think, again, she's the leader. She's thinks about something. She doesn't entirely react. She does have her moments, but and she doesn't think sometimes. She doesn't think about something. This is the one
She makes a decision even if she doesn't think it all the way through.
Yeah. But again, this is what I liked about Volume 3 in that one part where, you know, when Ruby saw Penny die, I always say this, I remember thinking that was going to be the moment Ruby broke. Like, I thought this would be the moment Ruby wouldn't, like, I always say it like this. You know when Age of Ultron, when Scarlet Witch needs that pep talk from Hawkeye, I've always felt like that was going to happen to Ruby at some point. But the reality was, Ruby didn't need a pep talk. She got up and faced that Nevermore, saving Pyrrha, despite the fact Pyrrha killed Penny, right? It was upsetting, but she still got up on her own and did her duty to protect her friends. And that was the moment I realized, I felt like, again, what you talked about there, but it was the moment I realized Ruby didn't need encouragement. Ruby didn't need somebody to tell her things. She knew what she needed to do. But now we are facing with the consequences of the backlash, per se, of... Not to say that she did anything wrong, she just did the best she could and it wasn't enough sometimes. I mean...
She did what she felt was right.
Yeah,
and
they had very, very few options. And honestly, they were just fighting against something that they'd never been... They just are still learning to fight, and they're having people turn... Again, this is the whole thing of... Like, this is why Ozpin did the things he did. This is why Ironwood did the things... Again, these things happen because of... There's reasons, and the characters, you know...
What I always found interesting, at least, like, even though Ruby's character is very... Throughout the whole thing, been very... Like, paragon hero.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say she's one note, but I would say she's definitely...
Not one note,
but she, again, is in that inspirational hero
Captain
bar.
America.
No, yeah, like, here's the thing. Like, Captain America is an inspirational hero. Iron Man is a relatable one. Even though you aren't, like, $1 million... You go through...
I was like, where's my $1 million?
You do go through... Iron Man goes through a lot of suffering. Loses family, loses, you know... His body has to go through a lot of things. He realizes his actions have hurt hundreds of thousands of people. Like, basically,
I was like, what was my train of thought with Ruby there? It was that every other, I want to say, character who has been dealing with Salem and whatnot,
mm-hmm.
up to this point that we know. We don't know her mother or her mother's actions enough to know if Ruby's following a similar path. Which actually she might be, given that song early on. I didn't want you to follow the path I did. But anyway, the interesting thing is that every other person who has come into contact with Salem, Ruby has gone against what they've chosen. Ozpin has made choices. Ruby ultimately went against a lot of them. Ironwood... his decisions on how to fight Salem,
mm-hmm.
Ruby went against that. She's kind of always known the way she's going to go about doing this stuff. And I always found it kind of interesting, like, her character wasn't one that really changed. She learned, she improved in things, but she kind of almost stayed the same so much until it hit a point where it caused more problems than it solved.
Yeah.
Like, when she was solving problems, is because there's usually someone else solving the other problems.
Yeah.
And then she finally reached a point where they were solving the problem, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But I did always like how she was kind of characterized as the one that didn't follow the way everyone else had tried to fight Salem, would mean she was taking the new path, potentially.
She was trying something that maybe somebody else hadn't tried, and that's fair. Honestly, like, if some people have tried things, you know, try something else. And if that doesn't work, which, you know, it did work, it just, they lost the relics, and they definitely lost some things along the way. But they still saved the people that they wanted to save, which was the plan. Mm-hmm. It was the cost, like, it's one of those things, you know, okay, they may have taken out, with, you know, like Ironwood, the ultimatum with him was, you know, just take out these people, but keep the relic safe get it out of Salem's hands, all that sort of, like, save Atlas, sort of, whatever Ironwood's plan was. The ultimatum was, the needs of, because with Salem getting the relics, that could just be the end all for everybody, so the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few that were down there. But, whereas RWBY, was trying to save as many, and the result is they did save the few, but they lost the potential end of many in the future.
Some great, like, I want to say a mix of philosophy and psychology,
something like that,
like mixed in with the fact that that was, I want to say, the most overt version of the world. That was it brought to the very forefront of what this world is. The ever after being a place of what you are.
Now I'm curious about, so okay, just based off the opening, we've gone through the forested mice area. We've gone through, or the village. We've also gone to the Red King Keep, and then we've gone to the forest, the mushroom forest, the herbalist and such. And we met the herbalist, and I'm not 100%. The herbalist isn't a villain, but he's a troublemaker in a way.
Oh, there was one thing I did want to point out that just crossed my mind. Every character had their weapon except for RWBY in that section.
You're right. RWBY still does not have Crescent Rose, which she still needs to find. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just realized, because I started thinking about, where we are, where we're going, the opening, and the scene with Crescent Rose. I was like, wait a second, they're all, like, pointing their weapons, but RWBY doesn't have a weapon to point.
Yeah, but that's another thing, which I noticed, like, RWBY's...
They're also a gun.
Young RWBY had her weapon, and then older RWBY did not. But that's another thing that has kind of been pointed out, and it's kind of, I know it's only been like 2 years in the show, but I do hope that this gets resolved soon. Not that I have a problem with it, I find it interesting, but it is one of those like things about RWBY has a difficult time fighting without her weapon. She still needs to learn how to do that. She needs to learn her physical combat abilities. Because Blake, Yang obviously, but Blake and Weiss could still fight without their weapons, I think. They have abilities, or they can practice with their semblances, they can... And RWBY could fight with her semblance, we've never seen her.
I almost just want to make a quick call for the later end of this season, is... She's going to have to stand up for what she believes in without a weapon to fight. So she's not good at fighting, but she still has to stand up for what she believes in and fight on in spite of the fact it's a losing fight, and overcome the fear of losing and regain that doing it for the right reason regardless of losing is still the right choice. And we're going to get that whole thing here. It might even be when fighting...
Neo?
Either Neo, or I'm actually thinking it could be the Rusted Knight. Maybe she's get challenged by the Rusted Knight.
Yeah.
Or what if it's when she has to fight when we go up against the Jabberwock?
The Jabberwocker? Yeah.
What if her self-realization, understanding of what she's going to be, who she is confronted in the moment when facing that thing?
Potentially, yeah.
There's a lot that could happen.
So... This was a good episode. Really liked it, and I'm excited for the next one. I'm just excited, honestly, for a lot of things this episode's going to bring up and such. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and we'll see you there in the next episode. Bye-bye!